At the family reunion, my sister laughed. Can't believe you still show up after all we've said. My mom raised her glass. She's useful, not included. My uncle added, silent wallet, golden ticket. I smiled, took a bite of potato salad, and said, let me know how golden it feels in 5 minutes. Then I pulled out my phone, froze every shared card, and revoked utility auto pays. By dessert, the room was filled with screams. I was already halfway through my second beer when my sister Lisa said it again. Can't believe you still show up after all we've said. No one even pretended to be shocked. In fact, it seemed like half the table was waiting for her to say something like that. My cousin Kyle snorted into his lemonade, and Aunt Marcy reached for her wine like she needed it to stay composed. No one met my eyes, but there was a strange comfort in their silence, like the kind that settles in right before a storm. It wasn't the words that hit, it was how confidently she said them, like I'd earned this place at the table solely as a spectacle. I set my beer down without looking at anyone. It had started already, and I hadn't even had a chance to fake a smile yet. My mom raised her glass, barely glancing in my direction. She's useful, not included. Some of them laughed again. It wasn't even malicious. It was worse. It was casual, like they were just stating facts, not taking shots, like it was just something everyone agreed on by now. Then Uncle Doug added his bit without missing a beat. Silent wallet, golden ticket. He looked around as if expecting applause for that line, and they gave it to him. Jake chuckled and bumped fists with Kyle under the table like they were part of some winning team. I just smiled. Not wide, not fake, just calm. Then I took a bite of the potato salad no one ever touched, the same one I brought every year. They made fun of it every single time, but never told me not to bring it, because deep down they liked what I did. They just hated admitting it. Let me know how golden it feels in 5 minutes. I pulled out my phone. No one paid attention. They'd been mocking me for so long, they didn't even recognize a shift in power when it was happening right in front of them. First, I froze the shared credit cards. All of them. Lisa's gas card, Mom's groceries, Dad's monthly meds. I put them all in my name because it was easier, because Jessica's good with money. I used to think they appreciated it. Next, I opened the utility portals. Water, electric, internet, garbage, even the insurance policies for both cars. They claimed I had no right to drive. All connected to my accounts, all set to auto-pay from my salary. I revoked every single one. Then came the apps. Hulu, HBO, Netflix, Spotify Family, Apple Music. I removed every device but mine. Every account I'd let them freeload on, while being told I wasn't mature enough to have a serious relationship. The air outside shifted. A low thud came from the AC unit, followed by a metallic whir that sounded like a car dying on the highway. The kitchen lights blinked. The Wi-Fi dropped. Jake's phone disconnected mid-video, and he let out an annoyed grunt, like he'd been personally wronged. What's going on? He muttered. Uncle Doug looked around, confused. Aunt Marcy started tapping her phone, and Lisa asked Dad if he paid the power bill. That's when Mom stood up. What do you think you're doing? Her voice wasn't angry. It was scared. That's what surprised me. I didn't answer. I just leaned back, finished my beer, and waited. By dessert, the panic had hit. The fridge beeped with a power fault. Lisa's banking app wouldn't load. Mom's pharmacy texted her about a failed prescription renewal. Even Dad's truck wouldn't start. His insurance app had logged out and locked his roadside assistance. This isn't funny, Mom said. No one was laughing anymore. They started accusing each other first. Then they turned on me. You're not God, Lisa said. Then maybe stop praying to me every month, I said. Doug snapped, said he'd call the police if I didn't fix it. I told him, go ahead. Maybe they'd like to see the receipts on how long you've been draining me while treating me like furniture. Eventually they left. Not a word of apology. Just rage, confusion, and threats of, we'll talk tomorrow. But tomorrow wasn't going to fix anything, because I had just started. They didn't call the next morning. They showed up, not together either. My mom rang the doorbell first, and less than 5 minutes later, my dad's truck pulled into the driveway like they hadn't even coordinated it. Just both decided I had to be dealt with immediately. I knew it was going to happen. I'd actually been surprised it didn't happen sooner. The knock wasn't friendly, not loud either, just firm, determined. I waited a few minutes, let them wonder if I was even home. When I opened the door, they didn't waste time. Your mother's meds didn't go through. The pharmacy says the card was declined. I nodded. She stood there like she expected me to drop into action, log into the accounts, apologize for the overreaction, and tell her everything would be okay now. Then Dad stepped in. We can't get gas. Your mother had to cancel her appointment. This isn't funny anymore, Jessica. It never was, I said. He frowned, like he didn't understand, like I'd just started speaking a different language. That's always been their blind spot. If I wasn't paying for something, driving them somewhere, fixing a bill or account issue, I became invisible. The only times they truly looked at me were when I stopped being useful. Look, just restore the cards. You made your point. Now stop dragging this out. Dragging it out? They still thought I was doing this to prove something, like I was trying to teach them a lesson, as if this wasn't years overdue, as if I hadn't had my life trampled over every time I tried to build something of my own. Mom stepped closer. We need to settle this today. You don't want to make enemies in your own family. That line wasn't even subtle anymore. I stayed calm, told them I wasn't settling anything today or any other day, that they should leave. She blinked at me like I'd smacked her. Then Dad chimed in. You've really let all this go to your head. You're being arrogant. You don't treat your parents like this. No, I said. I usually let my parents treat me however they want. That's what's changing. They didn't like that, but they also had no argument, so they left. Not yelling this time, just confused, cautious, like they realized something had shifted and they didn't know how deep it went yet. That should have been the end of it, but I knew them better. Later that night, I saw the Facebook post. Lisa, of course. She wrote something about how it's so heartbreaking when family becomes transactional and how money turns people into monsters. Nothing direct, but loaded with just enough bitterness that all the aunties could start chiming in with prayers and passive-aggressive advice. I didn't respond. I didn't even open the comments. The next day, I got a fraud alert from the bank. Someone had taken out a $4,000 microloan under a family account that had once been linked to mine. Technically, not my responsibility anymore. Legally, not my problem. But emotionally, they thought I'd break, that I'd see the debt and rush in to clean it up like I always did. That I'd be so horrified by the idea of them sinking into short-term loans and late payments that I'd plug the hole again, even if it bled me dry. I didn't. I went out to eat alone. Got a burger, tipped 40%, and went for a walk without my phone. 2 days passed. Total silence. Then Mom sent a text. No greeting. Just, can we talk like adults and stop playing games? I didn't respond because for the first time in my life, I wasn't playing. By day 3, they gave up on confrontation and moved into phase 2, pity and guilt. It started with a text from Aunt Marcy. Thinking of you, honey. It's so sad how families fall apart over things that don't really matter. No mention of what things she meant. No questions. Just enough vagueness to make her look like the neutral peacemaker, while clearly implying I was the one causing the fall. Then Kyle posted something on his Instagram story. Just white text on a black screen. People will forget everything you did the moment you stop doing it. No tags, but I got the message. Lisa took it further. She posted a screenshot of a failed Venmo request and wrote, "Imagine being betrayed by someone you fed." Someone sent it to me laughing. I didn't laugh. I knew exactly what this was. They couldn't reach me through arguments, so they used embarrassment. Social guilt. Make me look cold. Make me crack. Then an old friend from college, Sarah, texted out of nowhere. Hey, your mom messaged me on Facebook. She's worried about you. Said you were isolating and not in a good place. Are you okay? I hadn't spoken to Sarah in 3 years. Not once had my mom ever asked about her. Now she was reaching out to people I barely kept in touch with, trying to get someone, anyone, to bring me back into the fold. I didn't respond. I spent the evening cleaning my apartment, played music, and slept with my phone on silent. It was the first full night of sleep I'd had in weeks. But they weren't finished. Saturday morning, I walked out to get groceries and saw my dad standing by my car, hands in his jacket pockets like he was just out for air. He didn't smile. He just nodded once, like we were about to start some negotiation. We're not here to fight, he said. I didn't ask who "we" was. A few seconds later, my mom stepped out from their SUV, holding a manila envelope. They were never good at disguising setups. She held it out like it was evidence in a trial. We just want to show you something. Inside were printed statements, a list of expenses, pharmacy charges, grocery receipts, car maintenance logs, even dog grooming. I didn't know they still had a dog. The total was $5,370. We're not asking for money, just for understanding, Mom said. I didn't say anything. She kept going. We're struggling now, really struggling. Not everything is as simple for us as it is for you." Dad cut in. "You've always helped. We never had to ask. You just knew what needed to be done." That was true. I did know. I'd always known because I made it my job to know, because when I didn't step in, things broke. Lights went out, credit cards maxed, cell phones got cut off. So I'd fix it every time until that became the new normal. And now that I wasn't doing it, they were falling apart and blaming me for letting them live this way in the first place. "You should have told us it was too much," Mom said. "I did. You didn't hear it because I didn't scream it." "You could have said no." "I did. You ignored it." They kept saying this wasn't about money. But every word, every move, every gesture came back to it. That I had something they didn't. That I owed them for having it. "We're your parents, Jessica. And I'm not your exit strategy." My mom looked like she wanted to cry. My dad's jaw was clenched, like he was holding back some kind of ultimatum. I told them I had errands to run, and they should go. "You really want to cut us out over this?" Dad asked. "No, you already did that a long time ago. I just finally stopped bleeding for it." They left quiet this time. No yelling, no final threats, just silence, which was new and honestly a little scary. I thought they'd stay quiet after that. For the next few days, it actually felt like they had. No texts, no random drop-ins, no indirect messages from distant cousins or family friends. It was like the volume on my life had been turned down for the first time in years. Then on Thursday, I got a call from work. HR wanted to speak to me. I walked in expecting some scheduling issue. Instead, my manager closed the door behind me and asked if everything was okay at home. He looked genuinely concerned, but I could tell he didn't understand what he was even asking about. Turns out someone had emailed the company from an anonymous account, claimed I was misusing work resources, said I'd been using company time and devices to manipulate and defraud family members, and suggested they do a deep dive into my behavior. The email was filled with vague accusations and strange phrasing, like whoever wrote it didn't fully understand how businesses work, but was trying to sound official. HR knew it was nonsense. They checked everything. But the fact that someone had tried to drag my job into this, that shook me. I didn't say anything to them, just thanked them for letting me know. But inside, I was already narrowing it down. That night, I drove to Lisa's apartment. I didn't plan to go in. I didn't even knock. I just parked across the street and waited. Around 11 o'clock, I saw her lights go off. A few minutes later, I saw her leave in someone's car. I drove off. I didn't need to follow. I already knew. The next morning, my dad called, the first time in over a week. I let it ring. Then my phone lit up with a voicemail. He said he didn't know what was going on anymore, but that Mom was really not doing well. That she hadn't eaten in 2 days, was crying constantly, and that the whole family felt like it was being torn apart. He said she was planning to go to the hospital if this didn't end soon. I didn't call back. I knew how she operated. Tears, threats, health scares. It wasn't the first time. But later that evening, I got a notification from the pharmacy app. I still had access to an old reminder I'd never turned off. My mom hadn't picked up her meds in 6 days, and I froze, because as much as I'd armored myself, part of me still wondered, what if she really was spiraling? What if something actually happened? So, I drove to their house, pulled into the driveway. The porch light was on, but no one came to the door when I knocked. I let myself in with the spare key under the mat. The house was dead silent. Living room dark, kitchen untouched, dishes in the sink. Then I heard the TV upstairs. I walked up and found them both in the bedroom, sitting and watching a game show. A full pizza box open between them. Bottles of soda on the nightstand. My mom looked surprised to see me. My dad didn't look at me at all. I stood there, just stood. Then I turned around and left without a word. The next morning, I changed every password to every account I still had a shred of access to. I cut off the pharmacy app. I revoked their Wi-Fi plan. I even changed my phone number. I was done giving them any more pieces of me. But I didn't expect what happened next. 3 days later, a sheriff's deputy knocked on my door. He handed me a folded piece of paper, a formal notice. Lisa had reported me for financial harassment, said I'd endangered her credit and withheld funds. It was garbage, legally speaking, but it meant I had to respond to the county, waste time, energy, maybe even hire a lawyer. I asked the deputy if they did this a lot. He just sighed and said, "You'd be surprised." It was all a game to them now, a new way to pressure me back into my old place. But they had no idea how far I was willing to go. The paper from the sheriff didn't scare me. It irritated me. Not because I thought I was in any real legal trouble. I knew the report was hollow, but because it showed how little they thought of consequences, how easily they played with things they didn't understand just to win a fight they started. Lisa didn't care about the fallout. She just wanted to see if she could rattle me. So I rattled her back. I called the county office, explained everything, sent documents, timelines, email receipts, my last shared bank logs showing every transaction. Turns out Lisa had been using one of the cards I'd shut off to buy online clothes and restaurant delivery under my name for months. Never once paid me back. She'd conveniently left that part out. The clerk on the phone didn't say much, but a few days later, Lisa withdrew her complaint. No apology, just silence. That was fine. I was already moving past apologies. Then my parents showed up again, this time unannounced. I had just finished a load of laundry and was letting dinner cool when the doorbell rang. I opened it to both of them on the porch, standing like they were about to sell me something they didn't believe in. "We need to talk," Mom said. I let them in. They didn't sit. Mom looked around like she was checking to see if another woman lived there, or maybe just hoping one finally did, so she could pretend that was the real issue all along. "We're in trouble," she said. "We had to take out another loan. The interest is—" I stopped her. "You did that to get my attention. It worked. Now you have it. So say what you really came here to say." They looked at each other. "We need your help," Dad said. I nodded. "Then don't come here again." They blinked. Mom's mouth opened, but no words came out. Dad stepped forward, trying to lean into whatever authority he thought he still had. "You don't get to shut us out forever." I stayed calm. "You shut me out years ago, when I was 22 and gave up my second apartment because you asked me to move closer to help with things. When I lost my first boyfriend because you kept calling at midnight about car trouble. When I canceled a vacation to cover the mortgage shortfall. I never got those pieces back. You didn't just take my money. You took time. You took years." Mom tried again. "We were doing our best." "No, you were doing what was easy, and I was easy to use. That ends now." They stared at me like they were seeing a stranger. I opened the door. "Please leave." For once, they didn't argue. They just walked out, stunned into silence. And that should have been the end. But 2 days later, I saw a transaction alert tied to my name from a loan company I didn't recognize. A $4,000 microloan. They'd taken one out in my name. They must have found an old form, an old ID copy, something. I don't know how, but they did, and they left the balance unpaid. The notice said I had 7 days to respond before it went to collections. They thought this would be it, that this would pull me back in, that I'd be too disgusted to let the debt fester. But I didn't respond. I printed the notice, framed it, and hung it near my door, a reminder of who they really were. I didn't contact them, not when the collections notice came, not when the calls started, not even when a rep left a voicemail that included the words legal escalation. I let it happen because I knew this wasn't about $4,000. It never had been. It was about control, about whether I could be baited back into their game, and I had to let the bait rot untouched, no matter how bad it smelled. 3 weeks passed. No calls from my parents. No fake emergencies. No cousins texting vague guilt trips. The silence didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt like a pressure cooker, like something was about to snap. Then one morning, I got a knock at the door. Not urgent, just steady. I opened it to find my parents on the porch again, but something was different this time. They looked tired, but not in the way I'd seen before. It wasn't an act. Their clothes were wrinkled, their hair undone. My mom didn't speak right away. She held an envelope and extended it slowly. I took it. Inside was a receipt. They'd paid off the $4,000 loan in full, cash. "Where did you get it?" I asked. She didn't answer. My dad looked at me. Real direct eye contact, which he rarely did. "We sold the dining room furniture." That caught me off guard. That table had been in the family since I was a kid. All those Thanksgivings, birthdays, graduations. It was the only thing they'd ever preserved. "You sold the table and the hutch and the china," he said. "We had to. They said the debt was going to affect your credit." That's when I finally spoke the words I'd been holding back for years. "I'm not your emergency exit anymore." My mom nodded. Just once. Then my dad said something I didn't expect. "We're scared, not of money, of you not needing us, that we became dead weight." I waited, and you never once said that out loud before now. They didn't deny it. They didn't cry. They just stood there. I told them to go home, that I wasn't ready to forgive anything, that I didn't know if I ever would. that if they wanted even a fraction of a relationship with me in the future, they'd have to start by staying the hell out of my life. No check-ins, no drive-bys, no using other people to reach me. If you show up again uninvited, I will change the locks, report harassment, and cut ties completely. I said it quietly, but something in my tone must have hit because my mom stepped back. My dad just nodded. They walked to the car without another word. That was 4 months ago. Since then, nothing. No calls, no emails, no family drama, no surprise bills, no guilt posts. It's like they disappeared. Or maybe I just finally cut the last cord. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I own all my hours, not just the ones they left behind. The family still talks about me. I hear things secondhand, that I'm cold, that I've changed, that I've turned my back. They're not wrong. I've changed, and I'm not turning back. 6 days after they stood on my porch, I got a letter, not an email, not a text, a real letter. No return address printed, not handwritten, just a single folded page inside a plain white envelope. It wasn't a plea. It was a list, bullet points, every card, every account, every bill I'd ever helped them with, dates, amounts, times I'd saved them from overdraft or default. They had written it all down. Some of it was wrong, some of it was exaggerated, but it didn't matter. At the bottom was a single line, "This is what you did for us. We understand now what it cost you." No names, no apology, just that. I didn't know what to make of it. At first, I thought it was guilt, but then I realized it wasn't that either. It was resignation, a final gesture, a signal that they'd stopped fighting to pull me back into their world and were finally beginning to live in their own. I didn't reply. Then I got a text from Lisa, the first since her failed complaint. "You win." That's all it said. Not "I'm sorry," not "I didn't understand." Just surrender in 2 words. I didn't respond to that either. I thought it would feel satisfying, maybe even triumphant, but it didn't. It felt quiet, like I was standing outside a house I'd already moved out of, looking at the lights through the windows, realizing I didn't belong there anymore. Later that week, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was a man named Rick. Said he was helping my dad with some money stuff and needed a copy of an old tax return I'd once filed jointly to help them refinance something. I blocked the number. I don't care what they refinance. I don't care what they sell. I don't care if they have to start over from nothing. That's not my problem anymore, because I also had to start over alone, and I built something stable out of that. In the end, it wasn't revenge. It wasn't pride. It was just relief. They don't call anymore. No more fake emergencies. No more social media sniping. The silence became real. And I finally get to live a life where no one is waiting to pull me under again. It took years. It took pain. It took moments that nearly broke me. But now I know who I am without them. And I like her.